Barry,
Yeah.
what are we going to drink today?
Well, you know, it's been a long time since I did some day drinking, but the rules I always remember was you always have to go light. Either a light drink, a light mixed drink, or a light beer.
Now, you just said the rule you remember, so this is not your first rodeo.
No, went to Texas State, Southwest Texas, so we had a lot of
Experience.
weekend floats and day drinking back then.
Well, I can't say I've done that, but I guess I'll try today. I'm going to have my first day drink.
It's gonna be fun.
All right, let's do it. I think I'm going to get either a beer or a ranch water.
That sounds good. I think I haven't decided yet.
Let's go to the bar
We're gonna
and
go
check
check
it
it
out. We are day drinking at one of our favorite places here in Austin,
Absolutely.
Armadillo Den.
Yeah, right here on South Manchaca.
Yes.
And Menchaca.
Menchaca.
But for those of us who grew up here, it is and will always be
Manchac.
Manchac.
Yes.
Spelled silly, but Manchac.
Yeah, Manchac.
Yeah.
Wow, this place has changed.
Oh,
hasn't
yeah.
It? It's located right off of William Cannon and Manchac, close to that intersection.
Slaughter.
Or Slaughter,
Slaughter.
I mean.
Yep.
What the heck? I'm from here. I do know that, just FYI.
Yeah, so there's been a major redevelopment down here, and they're making a whole nightlife so we don't have to drive all the way into downtown.
I know, true.
There's a whole. It started with the Moon Tower, and then it just spread.
Yeah, now there's even, what is it called?
Lester Pearl.
Lester Pearl.
And they have Lester Pearl South.
And
they
the
have
Hive.
The Hive, and they have the Austin Beer Gardens.
Yeah, all
South
along
Austin Beer Gardens.
Manchac Road,
Yep.
within like half a mile of each other.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the winery to show up. That's all that we're missing. We need a winery
We're
and
missing the
another
Manchac
barbecue shop.
winery.
And another barbecue.
That's so funny.
Actually, we do have a barbecue. I say that again. Valentina's is way
At
down
Lester
there.
Pearl,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, it's there too. Yeah, but their actual spot
yes,
is down
never
Manchac.
mind. Okay. All right, so like I said, we're having a drink.
Yeah.
And I got, what did I get? It's like a peach tea. And you got,
I just got a pink drink. I don't know exactly. So there's some cranberry and some lime.
nothing.
And a little bite in it. There's
Okay,
a
that's
little-
nice. Hi, Gus. And this is Gus. He's our special guest
Hey,
today.
Gussie, get up.
Come up.
Gus, come here. Come here.
Up, up. This
There
is
you go.
Gus.
And this is Gus.
All right, and we
Gussie,
forgot
this
to
is for
introduce
you.
ourselves. I'm Nicole Perry with Nicole Perry Homes here in Austin,
And I'm Barry Wheeler with Leahy Lending, and we do the mortgage lending for Nicole's clients who find homes. And this is Gus.
Yeah,
He
this
just
is
gets in the
Gus.
way.
He's one of the underwriters over at Leahy
Yeah.
Lending.
Yeah.
He will underwrite your loan. So
Okay, get down.
we thought it would be a good idea with the amount of people moving here and as competitive as the market is, to talk a little bit about the basics of home buying. It's also good to know for sellers too, like what to expect with that buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, as a real estate agent, I'm sure you see the whole the busy season and the slow season. And so we're here coming into April. And how's the market looking for you guys here coming into April?
super busy. I write a lot of contracts. Unfortunately, some of them we don't win. Low inventory still, similar to last year. Actually more inventory than last year at this time.
I did not know that.
Anyways, no, yeah, we're super busy, just trying to win those deals. And that's why we're here to talk about what can we do to win the deal. And
Absolutely.
one of the ways you can do that is to make sure you visit with a lender before you even start home shopping. Super important. And let's talk a little bit about pre-approval versus a pre-qualification.
Sure thing. So whenever you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, it's always a good idea to speak with the bank early in the process. As a loan officer, we make sure we review your credit scores, we review your income documents and your down payment, and we actually search for all the different loan programs that are out there. I like to say that mortgage financing are tools, and we got to find the right tool for the right person. It's not always a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
So once we do that, we work hand in hand with Nicole, letting you know our maximum purchase price, and then we work to ensure that we're going to be able to close as quick as legally possible.
Yes, and closing quick is super important to a seller. If you're a buyer, it's one thing to talk about with your agent, hopefully me. So that's good to know about, the difference, pre-qual versus pre-approval.
Yeah, so when we're talking about pre-qualification, those are usually, they're interchangeable words, but typically they're going to be someone who just applies online and they haven't verified any documents. Once we have the documents verified, such as income and tax returns, we're able to then move it to the next step of pre-approval. Meaning that all we got to do, we've got you approved on your credit and your income. Now all we need is the collateral, the house.
So you've pretty much verified everything you need, and then I guess really, if it's not a cash deal and you're looking to finance, you're really just waiting on the appraisal at this point and closing docs. Yeah. Appraisal is super important. That's another topic. So once you get pre-approved and pre-qualled, you start the exciting part, which is going shopping. And but a couple things to remember when you're shopping for a house. There's a few things that you shouldn't do. And let's talk about those, Barry. I'm sure this has happened to you. It's happened to me. People are super excited. They found the home of their dreams. They've got a contract on it. And what do? They go and buy a car. Or they make a huge deposit and they can't somehow tell you where it came from.
eBay sales.
Yeah. So what are a few things that if you're wanting to buy a home, you're already pre-approved, what are some things that you absolutely shouldn't do before talking to Barry and myself?
Well, the biggest thing is acquiring new debt or making large deposits or changing employment. Kind of a big deal when you change employment. The biggest thing is just to run it by your loan officer. I always say, live your life the way you're going to live it.
Yeah.
And life's going to go the way it is.
Working 9 to 5.
Yeah. And then as soon as we oftentimes, if they're doing a small thing, it's not a big issue, but at least they have the peace of mind knowing that they're good. Sometimes they want to quit their job and start a new business, and those are when we run into problems.
Yeah, not a good idea. And also don't buy any furniture, even if it's deferred interest or anything crazy like that, right?
Right, because adding new debt increases your payments, and
it could throw that debt ratio out. Also, don't co-sign for anyone.
You're saying buying furniture and getting
co-signing.
Oh, co-signing, yeah. So, during the home buying process is not the best time to co-sign. But co-signing does occur, and the banks have a way to recognize that if there are two people on the car note or the house note, if one person is making all the payments and the other person co-signed, they realize that's not your bill.
Yeah.
So after 1 year of payments of the one person paying, then we're able to omit that as a cost.
Oh, that's awesome news. I didn't know. I just learned something, so thank you. And if you are co-signed on something and it doesn't show up on your credit report, make sure to talk to Barry or whoever about it, because it still will count against you if they find out about it. So what else can we talk about that's super important for a buyer and a seller in today's market?
Yeah, so
Well, and here's the deal too. The whole reason we're getting together is because we get asked all of these questions, and we want to keep it simple today, and just kind of help guide you on what to expect, some terms that are used all the time that you may not know about that we can, help explain.
Absolutely. Yeah, so in the current Austin market, one of the big things that's going on is the appraisals. That's the nerve-wracking part of it.
I'm gonna take a deep breath when you just said that word.
The one good thing about the appraisals is that the more you put down as a down payment, the more wiggle room you'll have on the appraisal. So most of our clients, when they're going in for 20% down, if the appraisal comes in a little short, we can restructure the loan to be...
It's really hard to focus right now because I love this song, but I'm gonna focus. Go ahead, keep going. I'm sorry, Barry.
So, appraisal gaps.
Yes.
So oftentimes, the way we work with the appraisal gaps is when we have our clients, if they're going in with 20% down, in the house, it's a multiple bid opportunity, they went above list, and there's a chance of an appraisal gap. And that means that your sales price and the appraisal didn't match.
Yeah.
So that's a stressful situation, but the banks have a way to restructure the loan when there's a low value. And it may be that the buyer brings in more cash, or it may be the buyer brings in the same cash and we just add mortgage insurance.
Or you've negotiated, to where you have the cash to make up the difference, and because the reality is most people that are buying and win the deal have the cash and sign the appraisal waiver. Like there's no contingency on it at all.
So on a purchase contract, Nicole, on a purchase contract, there's usually a lot of addendums.
Yes, there are.
One of the addendums I see all the time is the appraisal addendum. What is that?
Thanks a lot for putting me on the spot. I'm joking. It is an addendum that most sellers, if they see it in a contract that you've submitted, they want to see there's three options. First is the best for the seller, and that is you don't care what it appraises. If, let's say, you're buying a house for $500,000 and it only appraises for $400,000. By marking number one, you're pretty much telling them that you not only are going to pay closing costs, down payment, but you're going to make up the difference, that $100,000 difference between $400,000 and $500,000. Yeah.
And then when they say appraisal protection, what is that? What does that mean?
I don't know. What is that?
So it's contingent on. All right, let me change gear. So
We're going to cut that.
Yeah.
No, we're not. Go ahead.
So Nicole, one of the amendments that goes up on contracts I see all the time is the third-party financing addendum.
Yes. Oh, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
You're talking about the contingency date.
Yeah.
Yes. If you're financing, one of the addendums that is attached to the contract, it is part of the contract, is the third-party financing addendum. And pretty important, you pretty much mark whether it's conventional, FHA, VA, whatever, the terms, the rate, origination percentage, pretty basic stuff. But then towards the bottom, you'll see where you have the option to put in a date that is telling the seller, hey, traditional 2 years ago, we would put 21 days, right? Well, nowadays, that's why we were talking about pre-approval versus pre-qual earlier, is because we want to make sure you're pre-approved so that we can put 0 in that contingency date. We want to make sure that it's not contingent on the lender approving your loan.
Oh, great. So, Nicole, sorry.
Okay.
Hey, Nicole. One of the things that I deal with our home buyers on is we always talk about we call it the cash to close, and it's the big number they're going to bring at closing.
Yeah.
But during the real estate process, there's going to be some costs up front.
Yeah.
What are some of those things that they run into?
Well, you tell me more, because you're the one that sees it really. Well, there's, you mean for the contract, like option, if you can negotiate an option period, and what that means, it's the date that you've negotiated as a buyer with the seller. That's time to do your due diligence. And in a traditional market like we had more than a couple years ago, we would always try to negotiate 10 days. I would say last year I saw more of people waiving that completely, like just not even doing their due diligence with third-party inspections, like where you'd have the inspector come in and inspect the house and then negotiate repairs. That's not happening really as much anymore, but it is nice to have. So that's one of the dates. We just talked about the third-party
And what's the
financing.
big deposit they put?
Earnest money.
Yeah, what is that?
Earnest money is really just, good faith to the seller saying, hey, I want this property, so I'm gonna put a deposit on this property. And now, if you wanna send the right message, because you're about to get in bed with the seller, you wanna make sure it's a hefty number, especially if you wanna stand out from other competing offers, because we are seeing bidding wars. So you've got the earnest money. Just know that that's refundable. But something I didn't mention earlier about option is that is not. So whatever you put down for option, you don't get that back until closing. If you make it towards closing and you close, you do get a credit on the option.
Yeah.
Just not if, like, let's say you've negotiated 5 days, you do your inspection, um, and something happened with the foundation, and you're like, I don't want this house anymore, then you don't get that money back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and Gus wants to know about it too. So the one thing I always talk about, so Nicole, when we're talking about these different big checks that are written, the option money check
Huge
and the
check.
earnest money check, and we talk about option period, and we talk about third-party financing, as a lender, I always say the option period is a chance for you, the buyer, to say no, and then the third-party financing is a chance for if us, the bank, says no.
Yes, there are many buyer outs, and that is why it's super important to have someone on your team that has your back and can kind of just guide you through all of the details that goes into writing a contract to purchase a home.
Yeah. And then, so now we've got a contract. We've got the earnest money. We've got the option money. It's cashed. It's at the title company. What are the next expenses that they're going to run
That's
into?
something else. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, there are a lot of third parties involved with, buying a home and selling a home. One of which is the title company.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much just a third party that holds the earnest money. And now, actually, effective April of this year, you can write one check to the title company for both option and earnest. Like in the past, we had to write 2 separate checks, deliver to the seller, deliver to title, but now it's just one check.
I think that was all because of the bankers. We were so picky on stuff like that.
I guess so. But what else? So you had asked a question, and I went back to.
So, Nicole, once they've gone on the contract and they laid out the deposits for the earnest money and option money, what is the next step, and where are they spending money next? What's the next cost that they're going to incur?
So really, if you've negotiated the option period, hopefully you have, just so you can do your due diligence and find out if this is truly, nothing's perfect, but a pretty close to perfect house, I would hope. You're going to do third-party inspections, so you'll have an inspector come, and depending on the square footage, you're looking at about 400 plus for an inspection.
And what does this, I hear inspection, but what is that? It sounds scary. What is that?
It shouldn't be scary. It's just so smart of you to do an inspection of the property. They look at it all. It's a pretty good overall inspection of the house, and a few key things that they cover. 1 is the foundation, 2 is the roof, 3 is the HVAC, and then the hot water heater. Those are the 4 things I tell my clients to really, dig deep and make sure they're doing okay, because those are expensive items to fix down the road.
It makes me think when I was young, we would buy a used car. You could take it to the mechanic and you could get lemon busters.
Oh yeah.
And they would look over the car for you for a fee, but then the car's good.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So that's how I kind of think of that.
That's a great analogy. So it's really just to make sure that, you're not buying a lemon.
No lemons.
No lemons.
No lemons.
Unless it's in your peach tea.
Well, I like limes.
Well, limes are good too. So yeah, there's that. And then heaven forbid the inspector finds anything something seriously wrong with the house. Like let's say the roof. They see something weird. That'll give you the time to call in a roofer, maybe pay a fee, to come and really look at the roof thoroughly. Yeah.
So let me ask you, regarding the inspection piece, that kind of scary to me, but I understand it's one of the things, it's a lemon buster.
It shouldn't be scary.
What happens if things come back and they're like cracks and stuff? Do we just stop, or do we work with them, or what?
No, well, that's a heavy question.
I didn't mean to lift too much weight while we're day drinking.
Let's just start with, how about an example?
Okay, so let's say Nicole, let's say that we were going through and they did so Nicole, once you're under contract and they do that inspection, like you said, some of the things you mentioned that come up, maybe a shingle's loose on the roof, maybe some water pressure on a pipe, maybe something about a window.
Those aren't a big deal.
Those aren't a big deal.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, so what do we do if we see those?
It's really ultimately, it's not up to the agent. It is always something we will get together, we will go through the reports together, and then you decide as the buyer whether or not you want to pursue this further. Like I said with the roof, let's say heaven forbid something happens with the roof, You want to call that roofer, most likely you'll pay a fee. So there's another inspection fee on top of the inspection that you already did, just to make sure the roof checks out.
Yeah.
Foundation's another one.
Oh yeah.
I have so many stories when it comes to foundation.
Well, we are in Texas.
We are in Texas.
Every house has a crack, and every house has a foundation.
And the thing is, people buy them with foundation problems.
Yeah.
They are fixable. It just depends on when you buy it. Do you buy it after the repair's been done? You just want to make sure you have someone on your team that can get the expert in there to make sure you're not buying that lemon, right?
Yeah.
And that 5-10 years down the road, you can resell.
Yeah.
And there's no stigma involved. So, you know what stigma means. We want to make it as seamless as possible so that when you decide to sell, it's all good.
Yeah. So, have you ever had it when a client, Nicole, have you had a person go under contract, do the inspections, and on the inspection, they came up with a foundation problem, and it was like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 foundation problem? What do you do?
I take a deep breath on that question. So that's actually happened to me a couple of times. Let me just give you an example. Listing in South Austin, 78749, right there, close to Brody. And anyways, you walk into the house, you would never think that there was anything wrong with the house. All right, I'm representing the seller, and I've got buyers. They've got buyers. They bring the buyers under contract, and they get their inspection. They had negotiated an option period, which we talked about. And turns out the house had 6 inches of deflection.
Oh my gosh,
And
half a foot.
Right, and the buyer's agent calls me up and it's like, you do realize there's 6 inches of deflection. And my seller, the job of a realtor is really just to keep everything, don't let the emotions get too out of hand. And my seller was being a little bit cocky. I don't know if that's the right word, but I said
confident.
It's very confident.
Not arrogant, just confident.
And I tried to explain to my client that this is going to cost you thousands of dollars. If we lose these buyers, this is going to cost you a lot of money. And that's where, it was helpful to have my experts, because we all have a team of people around us, or the good agents do, of people that know what they're doing, that you have a great relationship with, that you can call up right away and say, hey, help me explain this to my client. They ended up buying the house with the deflection after Daniel with Castle Rock Foundation had a conversation with with my client, pretty much telling them it's going to cost you about $60,000 to $100,000.
Wow.
If you don't sell this house to this buyer.
Yeah.
So we ended up reducing the price by $20,000. So my client came out ahead on that one.
Well, great.
I don't know that buyer's plan. They could have just bought the house to, the lot value, knowing no one knows, no one has a crystal ball, but I didn't know their plan. Like they could have had plans to tear it down and build new, just to be in that zip code. You just never know.
So, Nicole, that we were. So Nicole, you're talking about the inspections.
Yes.
On the bank side, we don't need the inspections. That's just for you, the buyer, during your option period, for you to make it up. And I had this one time, I had a client that got an inspection and they canceled their contract because of the inspection. And I called my client and I was very empathetic about the fact they just spent that money on an inspection.
He has a lot of money.
And they said they were happy because it saved them from making a big mistake.
Yeah, no, I could see that. Everyone, that's what I'm saying. Everyone, it's up to the client.
Mm-hmm.
It's not up to me as the agent. It's not up to the lender. I'm just there to walk you through the process. Let's talk about these serious items, and then you guys decide. Not me, you. Yeah.
And then, so Nicole, after we've got our earnest money, option money, and the inspection money, then it's the bank side.
Yes.
And we're going to need to ask you to order an appraisal on a house.
Yes, we order the appraisal.
That's the big roll of the dice. So the appraisal is a very large document, about 23 pages long. It compares the house you're buying to other homes that have sold in similar style, age, location, and establishes a fair market value for the home.
Yeah.
Now, I know you're saying, we agreed to a price. What do I also need to get an appraisal? Well, the bank is more
bank needs
conservative.
it.
The bank needs the
Why
appraisal.
does the bank need it?
Well, we don't know. Just because the two of you agree to something, we don't want to over finance the property.
Right.
So we do our own independent appraisal to establish a separate value.
Yeah, it's super important. Like,
It
no
is.
lender's going to give you money, especially thousands and thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
without making sure that collateral is legit.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Um,
And then once we get and then that's usually your only out-of-pocket expense. That was about it. And then you get your movers later.
You know, the only time I've ever had an appraisal, so maybe you can elaborate on this, Barry, but, you know, when it comes to financing, it could either make or break the deal, right? We've talked about whether it's going to come in too short. We know if it comes in over,
That's
the
great.
buyers are super happy, but, you know, when it comes in lower, that's a problem. But another problem is, you know, there's different types of financing. One is the VA. And I had a listing once where, sure enough, there's problems with the house that the appraiser noted. And those things had to be fixed in order for that loan to close. So elaborate a little bit on the VA.
Yeah, so when it comes to mortgages, I always see them, they're all different financial tools, and we got to get the right tool for the right goal.
Yeah.
And a VA loan is an excellent financing program, but the VA has so many buyer protections for the veteran.
Yes.
They're just always trying to protect the veteran.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of the rules that they created 100 years ago are the rules that all the banks use now.
How
because they're
interesting.
protecting people.
Yeah.
One of the things they have, and they're probably the most stringent on an appraisal, is that they want the property to be in good standing conditions. And one of the things we see quite often, they're the only ones that actually require a termite inspection. And there's little things that the VA requires, such as branches that are touching the house, fences that are touching the house, dirt that's above the foundation touching the house.
Yeah.
All these little things that that seem nitpicky to us at times, but really are buyer's protection and homeowners protections.
Yeah, and those things do come up on an inspection too. And hopefully you've got a good agent if you are going to sell your house, someone it's not their first rodeo, and they can go to your house and pretty much look at your house and tell you, you need to do this, you need to do that. That's part of prepping it for sale. And also as a buyer, you know, when I'm out with my buyers, just telling them, you know, that's a problem, but it's cheap to fix, no worries, no worries.
You know, Nicole, you know, one of the things here in Austin, we have a very hot market with a very strong appreciation.
Yes.
So, you know, what we see on the bank side is sometimes when someone's buying a house, they have a family member that wants to help and they want to do a gift.
Oh, let's talk about gifts. That's a great idea, Barry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how often have you had a client that said that their parents found out they were buying a home and they didn't know it, but now the parents want to help them buy it?
It's happened a few times, yeah. And it's awesome as long as the lender knows about it, right? We don't want that deposit showing up in your bank account because you have to verify that it is a gift, right? They have to write you a letter.
Yeah, so the good news is that for banking has gotten a lot better over the last 20 years. And gift funds, that's parents giving money as a gift, it's perfectly acceptable for almost all kinds of financing.
Well, it doesn't even have to be just parents, right?
No, but it needs to be a relationship such as a family member, a relative, or perhaps a fiance.
Okay, yeah, very good. So we've talked about, you know, pre-qual, pre-approval. We talked about option, earnest money. We've talked about inspections. We've talked about appraisals. I mean, really, once you get that appraisal, we're pretty much shooting for closing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You know, and if both parties are on board, typically we try to close sooner, right? I mean, it just depends.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about the purchase contract. It's on or before. So if we can close sooner, we do.
Yeah. So another thing we need to talk about, you know, from the beginning of the year, rates were what, 3 1/8? Like, they were very low. And everyone was forecasting, you know, by the end of the year, rates would be 4%, close to 4%. But what happened?
It is an exciting time in the mortgage industry. So we had, I'm sure everybody heard all the stuff about inflation and the Fed,
Yeah.
and that's causing interest rates to go up. And yes, rates 2 years ago, that was the bottom of the market, and we saw home buying in the 3s.
Yeah.
But the thing I realize is that now that we're at the end of COVID, the interest rates are really not, it's not that they're spiking, they're just going back to what they were before COVID.
Yeah.
So that looks like a big jump to us, because it is, but it's really just removing the COVID from it and going back to where it was.
Right.
So we're now seeing rates in the mid fours.
Which is still historically low.
Yes. One of the things I always comment is one of the busiest times I ever seen in Austin, Texas was in 2009, and we were doing mortgage rates at 6.5.
I know, it's crazy. I remember, like, my parents, we lived in Hayes for a while, in a neighborhood called Leisure Woods. My poor parents, it was 1984, and I think that the interest rate on their house was 17%.
Yeah.
It was crazy back then, so people have it good. Just because rates are going up and it's 4%, whatever, that is still historically low. You know, and let's talk about the benefits of homeownership and you know, buying while rates are low.
Yeah, so, well, you know, a lot of people talk about the rates going up, but you know what also went up? The average cost of income.
Right.
So, yes, the rate went up 1%, but if you look at the math, the average income went up 6. So it also just stayed with inflation.
Great, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it is a good time to buy if you're thinking of buying, and it's a great time to sell if you're thinking of selling because of the bidding wars and everything, and rates being historically low. But, you know, you've got to remember year over year in the city of Austin alone, you know, obviously we have inflation, but there's also an increase in rents. Like, it's becoming really expensive to live in Austin. I mean, it has been for a while. So it is a good time to buy because that way you stabilize your payment, right? You have the write-off from the IRS, the mortgage interest, and
Yeah.
So, and you've got the homestead.
Yeah, the one thing you're 100%, you know, like you were saying, rents in Austin, Texas are going up. In
They
some
are.
cities, they've gone up 30%. It's shocking.
It is.
Just shocking how rents are going up. And if you instead of renting by your home, then every payment you're making is paying down the balance.
Right.
So you're really just building equity
Well,
every
and
month.
not just that, listen to this. So this is an example forecasters are using right now. So if you bought a house, national average, $350,000 in January of 2022, you stand to gain $90,000, almost $90,000 in 5 years, by 2027. So that's another real good reason to buy because you're going to gain equity. It's a known fact that when inflation hits, what happens to your house?
They go up.
Equity goes up. So great time to buy, great time to sell. What else can we talk about to end it on?
So, you know, people ask me about, so Nicole, you know, people talk about the appreciation going on
Yeah.
on home markets, and a lot of it has to do with the buying demand. And
Yeah, there is a
when we
buying
look at
demand.
a very large global view, I'm a Gen Xer, and then there were Gen Y,
Yep.
and then there were the great millennials.
Yes.
And the millennials are the largest group,
I know.
and they are coming on board right now to start buying homes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're having the highest influx of new home buyers, first-time home buyers, and they're just now coming in, and they will continue to come in until 2030. So we have the next 8 years of the millennials buying their first homes, and that's demand is just undeniable.
Yeah. It's true. Very
So
true.
we got to build a lot of homes.
I know, and you know, the reality is with inventory being, you know, in these hot zip codes as low as it is. I mean, there's inventory, granted, but there's also bidding wars. So I have a few buyers now that we're talking new construction, right? And that's one of the problems is that these builders just cannot keep up with demand.
Yes, KB Homes had a press release on their quarterly earnings, and they missed earnings not from sales, but from an inability to meet all their sold contracts.
Actually, before I came here today, I was showing some new homes in Estancia, Lennar, and what's good news to me is that we're no longer on the bidding, right? I've had clients in Georgetown just this time last year, you know, had to go in over asking, similar to the resale bidding situation. They're not doing that anymore, which is good news for buyers if you're looking for new construction. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's first come, first serve, which is great news.
so ask me what are some buyers doing to stand out to win?
Yeah, it's a great question.
With the lending. Yeah.
So, Barry, you see a lot of contracts like I do, but you tell me on your end, what are buyers doing to stand out with all of this competition?
That's a great question because the market is so hot that you definitely are not going to, well, you're not going to get as many opportunities to win. So when it comes up, you need to win.
Yeah.
And one of the things you had mentioned about the third-party financing
Yes.
is one of the steps we do. So typically what we do is we will actually spend the time to get with our underwriters in the bank and underwrite the file completely. Now when we do that, it means you are done. Now it's just the title and the appraisal.
Yeah.
So when we do that, you have the ability to waive your third-party financing, which makes you as good as cash.
Nice. That's great. And you need to make sure that your agent explains that and tells your story when submitting the contract. Because, you know, the reality is there are some people out there that just, they don't know what they're doing. And you've got to communicate really, really well. And I would communicate that.
Yeah,
actually.
I've had clients win, and one of our favorite things is when we underwrite a file and then they find the property and we win. We love it at the bank because we're already done. Now we just got to get the appraisal and close.
Oh, I love it. You know, I thought we were done, but I have so many more questions. Are you okay continuing?
Sure.
You know, a lot of, you know, one of the reasons besides COVID, people aren't putting their houses on the market, there's not enough inventory, is because people, they see what's going on in the demand, and they're like, well, where do I go, right? Where do I go? Tell me about your product. It's, I don't want to mention the competitor, where you pretty much help them buy the next house cash while they still live in their house or something like that, right?
Yes, we work with a lot of different banks and lending institutions. And one of the things that I had mentioned is that there's financing tools, or there's so many tools because people have different needs.
Yeah.
And one of the tools we have is being able to buy before you sell.
I know,
So,
it's so great.
When you have to sell your house first, that's called contingent.
Yeah, we
And-
don't do contingent offers. I don't recommend writing that up.
No, because the seller's worried that something
You
might
won't
happen.
win. You won't win.
Yeah, so what we do is we waive the contingency and we have a financing option where we're going to guarantee a cash closing on the home.
Yeah.
Now we do have to do an appraisal on it,
Yeah.
and when we get the appraisal back, if it, as long as it makes the value, and if it doesn't, the buyer can bring in the difference, and we will close in cash. And then, so the bank will close in cash, and then you will move in. And
Right.
at one later date, within the next 6 months, when your house sells, we'll redo the mortgage as a purchase to you.
Nice. And then we have to hustle to get your house ready so that we can hit the market
Absolutely.
and sell it fast. So yeah,
Now-
that's
now-
awesome. That's a great program.
Yeah, now's the time to get the house on the market. Everything's turning green.
Oh, I know, it's perfect. Yeah.
And I think I'm about to get a sunburn.
Yeah, I'm getting a sunburn already.
We
So
might need to move seats.
We're moving.
Yeah. So Nicole, you know, Austin, Texas has seen a lot of change here. What have been some of the home buyers you've worked with, and how was the experience for them?
Do you want to talk drama?
I love drama.
All right, let's talk drama. So one example was actually a listing I had in a neighborhood, a newer neighborhood, east of I-35 in Onion Creek. It was newer, a couple years old, and my guys needed to move to Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so we put it on the market. We, you know, maybe some movement, you could see some hairline cracks in the exterior, that kind of thing, but nothing, like, you know, usually if you see a house with foundation issues, you can tell, right? You
Yeah.
can stick your finger through, or you walk in and all of a sudden you're walking downhill or uphill. With this house, I didn't really, know what you couldn't tell. So we got an offer, full price offer. It was great. This is before things went crazy, January of 2021, right? Well, it was kind of crazy in 2020, but not near
No.
like what happened January of 21. So anyways, they had an inspector come, I guess, they had a deflection tool. They said maybe there might be deflection, but here's the deal. Then they had a foundation guy, an engineer come and run a report, and the guy, an engineer, did the report saying that there was like 5 inches of deflection from this point to the whatever. I'm not a foundation expert,
Yeah.
but
That's a lot.
it was bad. My guy was like, what the heck? Like, and here's the beauty of that is that it was newer construction, and granted, the builder that built it, there was a warranty on the foundation, which was transferable, which is good. You always want to make sure if you are building new that warranty is transferable. Um, we got our guy over there, and I don't know if the inspector just didn't like reset his deflection tool, but there was hardly any deflection. Called up the other people that were thinking of making an offer. Sure enough, bam, they closed. Even got the hairline, fixed that was on the outside. Not a big deal. So that's just it. Like, you have to be careful. They could be an engineer, structural engineer, and tell you there's something wrong, but you've got to do your own due diligence and homework.
That's what we always say. Whenever you're making a large financial decision, it's always a good idea to get a second opinion.
Yes, very good idea. So yeah, that was a drama story.
So, it's such a hot market, and buying a house is so stressful. And no, it's a stressful experience.
Selling a house can be stressful.
So
it is the largest financial investment of your lifetime.
So what are some things that somebody needs to make sure to have a good experience while they're doing this?
Well, I'm here with you, and so obviously I'm going to say you absolutely have to make sure you're working with one of the best, right? You want a good team when it comes to lending, and also your real estate agent.
Yeah, so our first step is we're going to get you pre-approved, and if we need to, we'll go to underwriting and get the underwriting approval. And then we're able to shop with confidence, knowing that financing is set up.
Yeah.
Then I get it back to you.
Yeah.
And then the fun begins.
The fun begins. But there was something I was going to tell you a while ago. We were talking about this. Keep talking.
Okay. So then I get it back to you, and you're going to go look at houses to make offers.
Yes, I know that. But there was something else that's important about oh, yes. When it comes to a team, right? Because it is teamwork. Sorry about the brain fart, whatever you want to call it.
It was the margarita.
The margarita, yeah. The thing is, I have clients come to me and they'll say, oh, I'm working with my bank in Washington, or and no offense to banks, no offense to credit unions, but it is important as a realtor that I have a great relationship with whoever you choose, right? That they are available, that even if I text them or phone them at 10 o'clock at night, that they're transparent and they're open, right?
Yeah.
And you're local. Like,
yeah.
You're right here in Austin.
Yeah. So, I can't imagine anybody listing a house with someone who's not a local agent. Same thing, I can't imagine anybody buying a house with someone that's not a local agent. Mm-hmm. And, that also rolls into the financing, because we know what this market is going through. Yeah. And we understand that. And we work hand in hand with our agents. And so Nicole and I work hand in hand. So we set it up and knock it down.
That's right.
So,
absolutely.
So when Nicole finds a property, she contacts you. So you contact me.
I contact you.
And then I write up the letter of approval and I send it back to you.
Yes, so that I can submit it with the contract. And not only that, I tell your story, and I just, it's all part of negotiating that first email with your contract to the list agent. But more importantly, I think one thing that we do that stands out is that I have Barry call that list agent, so that you can establish that relationship, that connection with them, because it really is, at the end of the day, it's about relationships and communication.
Yeah, so I've been in the business since 2004, so I've met almost everybody in here, and when I call them, there's a good chance I know who the person who's selling the house is. And there's a level of credibility and accountability that happens when you're local.
Yes.
That when you're remote or a big bank, they know that you, I don't want to say they don't care.
Yeah,
so when you're a remote or you're a big bank, they don't have the same feeling as being a local, accountable, and credible lender. Yeah. And when I call that listing agent, we are working as a team, because I'm reiterating and reassuring that the file is as approved as possible and our commitment to close. And that phone call, our goal is for that to stand out.
Man, it's a good feeling. It is such a good feeling when you work as a team and you hit the goal line, right? Or
right.
The field goal.
Right.
You make a touchdown, or what is it? I'm not a dude.
Extra point. Yeah. So I oftentimes say is that when everything goes great, it's wonderful to have a local agent, because they're making a very enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
But when something comes up, you're so happy you have a local agent, because that local agent works hand in hand with us, and we're going to find out the solution to maybe the appraisal gap, maybe the foundation?
Because here's the reality. I mean, shit's going to hit the fan, excuse my language. And you need to make sure, like I said before, that you have people that you feel comfortable with, that you know have your back, and you work towards that goal of getting you that house. And as a seller, selling your house, like there's so much drama that can happen. We want to prevent that. And the best way to do it is to work with someone you trust.
Yeah, and that's where that hand in hand and working as a team.
Yeah.
Because if something comes up, before you even know, we've already figured it out.
Yes, yeah. Well, listen, I could be here all day hanging out. I guess we called it day drinking earlier.
Yeah.
It's not your first rodeo with that, obviously. No, I'm joking. But again, you know, thanks for taking the time watching this video. If y'all have any questions for Barry, you know, with Leahy Lending, or me, Nicole Perry with Nicole Perry Homes, we are here just if you have questions. Not if you want to buy or sell. If you have anything real estate related, we're here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, being of service, our goal is to help you get into a home. And even if it's not with us, we just want to be of service. Because why would I do that? Because the reason I do that is because of Nicole. Whenever you're making a large financial decision, it's always a good idea to get a second opinion.
Yep.
So we will work with Nicole's clients, and most of the time we're the best.
Yep.
But if they're already set in heart and it's the same thing, it's always a good idea to hear somebody say, yeah, that's where the market is.
So it's been so much fun hanging out with you today, and we're going to do it again. So this is the beginning of our series. Maybe next time we'll meet and we'll talk more about sellers.
Okay.
But if you've enjoyed what you're watching, make sure that you like and subscribe. We're on all social platforms. Thank you so much for watching.